I was an honoree about a decade ago, and really just joined about a year ago. So when the pandemic hit, so I haven't really had a chance to mingle with you all in person, although Lisa always invited me to a lot of the mixers, which was really nice. I started my broadcast career as an intern at KEYT over 30 years ago. Oh gosh, well over 30 years ago. I was going to UCSB, go Gauchos, and I was headed toward a career in law when I stumbled upon an internship at KEYT, and I fell in love immediately with the energy of the newsroom. Back then in 1985, we had to do everything. We were still on typewriters, and we had to, really do everything. So I, made coffee, brought coffee, carried equipment, and watched the reporters and learned, and eventually worked my way up to a part-time reporter. And by the time I graduated as a senior, I was anchoring the 6 and 11 o'clock news. About that time, I got recruited by the William Morris agency, and he said, where are you willing to go and move around the country? I said, well, I really don't. I really want to go to law school. He said, well, if I could put you anywhere in the country at a TV station, where would you go? And I said, I go as far as LA, which, naively, that's market, 117 to market 2. So he did. He put me in LA. There was a company that had just bought up the sleepy little Channel 9 KHJ. It was the Walt Disney Company. And I got hired there as the morning and noon anchor, and I spent 6 years there. I commuted 5 of those 6 years because I got married. And after the 6 years ended, I made a decision to come back to KEYT on a part-time basis to raise my family, which I did, and stayed there for the next 20 years before, as you know, a very high-profile DUI caused my termination. I caused my termination, and which ended up being a blessing in disguise. It enabled me to get well and find a new career in real estate, which I love, and also enabled me the free time to really be my true authentic self. And that is working on projects that are near and dear to my heart. I have a little production company, and I do a lot of production for recovery homes, men in recovery and women in recovery, which is part of my story. So it's really nice to tell the story of others who are battling alcoholism, as I did and I'm doing. So I feel very, very lucky and grateful to have the free time to be involved in organizations that I love. I met Lisa while I was on the media committee for Santa Barbara Women's Political Committee. So we have a long working relationship and friendship. And that's what I find with the women in this organization as well. We have a common bond. We love to communicate, make connections, and that's what we do here. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this organization.
Thank you very much, Paula. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing your story and talking a little bit more about you. And for women who want to get more involved, if you're a member and you would like to get more involved with the organization, us at AWCSB, you can always reach out to us if you want to volunteer for a committee, or if you want to maybe join the board. We're going to have some board members, board positions transitioning coming up in the next month or two. So feel free to get more involved. So, and then I wanted to keep you on a little longer, Paula, because one of the things I was so impressed that you're doing is a couple of months ago, you invited me to a community vigil for a cause that you're very involved with. And it was a media campaign to help support a mother from Goleta who raised her children here in Goleta and then was deported. So I wanted to for you to share a little bit behind the scenes of a successful media campaign. So we can go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and screen share, and I can show a couple of the pictures. And do you want to talk about what the whole thing and where you've come as far as?
Yes, I would love to. And I say we, my husband and I, and we've been working on a lot of projects together. As a retired judge, he's not bound by the same protocol he was as a judge, and I'm not bound by the same protocol as I was as a journalist either. So we're able to work with people that we care about and causes that are near and dear to our heart, which has really been fulfilling. And one of those is the case of Goleta grandmother Juana Maria Flores, you may have heard of. She's a woman who has been a resident of Goleta for 30 years. She's raised 10 children 18 grandchildren, including a son who is now in the Air Force. And we came upon her story actually through a common friend who said, you know, she's been here all this time and she just got the orders to deport. She did cross the border illegally one time to go see her mother, her dying mother, and to attend her funeral. And that really took her out of the running to get a visa. So she made the choice, the very difficult choice, to go and be with her mother in her last dying days. She didn't make it actually to see her mother. She made it in time for the funeral. So that precluded her from getting a visa, unfortunately, that one crossing over. So she has been living here though, and she reports to ICE. She reported to ICE and they didn't mind. They called it parole in place. They didn't mind. They said, as long as you don't break the law, you're fine. Under many administrations, including Republican and Democratic administrations, she was allowed to stay here. That all changed during the Trump administration, where he said, no, zero tolerance, you need to go back and report. So they gave her a date, and we assembled a team that includes retired judges, lawyers, journalists, and we brainstormed on what we could do to keep her here. And we did keep her here for 2 years, but 2 years ago on April 2nd, she self-deported across the border to a house that her husband and she had purchased, and she rarely visited in Aguascalientes. She had to go by herself to a foreign land that was foreign to her, where she's been living for 2 years apart from her large, loving family. So we have been on this campaign to raise awareness, and we were even though we knew that we didn't have much of a shot with the prior administration, with the new administration, we are very hopeful. One of the things that we did do is we said, well, why don't we write a law that would give her reprieve, since she is the mother of a service person? So we approached Congressman Carvajal's office and we asked him to write a bill that would give special consideration to parents of service members. And that bill now was reintroduced under the new administration. It's called HR 454, and it would give relief. It's called the Protect Patriot Parents Act. So that is one avenue that we are pursuing to bring Juana home. The other avenue is we want her to come home now while the bill is pending on humanitarian parole. She's the caretaker for her husband, who is diabetic, and her son, who has mental health issues. So we are very, very hopeful, given the current administration's stance on reuniting parents and children who were separated at the border, and most recently a woman named Alejandra Juarez, whose circumstances and story are identical to Juana Maria's. We're hopeful that we can bring her home while the bill is pending. So we took advantage of the date, her deportation date, April 2nd, the 2-year anniversary, to hastily call together a press conference. We got out a press release and sent it to local media. And we sent the invitation to speak to all of our elected officials, and we had 10 elected officials speaking at the press conference at City Hall, including school board member, city council members, county supervisor Doss Williams, as you can see there, and of course Congressman Carbajal. And they all spoke for about an hour. We had a great turnout. The family members spoke. We're really calling for as you can see, we got yellow ribbons and handed them out so that we can bring Juana home. So we got great coverage, and the most recent development is we have interest from a Washington Post reporter to do the story. So we're hoping for some national coverage, as well as an NBC reporter for an NBC network the reporter who covers immigration issues. So we're really hopeful, but we were hopeful that she would be home for Mother's Day, to spend Mother's Day with her children, and that date passed. And all of these dates are passing, and it's becoming, we're just going to keep the pressure on. That's what we've been doing, and we're going to ramp up the coverage. We have some ideas that are brewing. We're going to develop a website, and we're going to get a video out, put it on YouTube if we have to, even put an ad out in the LA Times and the Washington Post if we need to bring Juana home. So thank you for allowing me, Lisa, this time to talk about this cause that's near and dear to my heart right now. every day I realize when I'm with my kids that Juana is not able to be with her kids. I was babysitting my granddaughter today. Juana doesn't get to babysit her granddaughter anymore. In fact, 2 of her grandchildren were born while she's been deported. So
let me just ask you a couple of questions. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off if you're finished.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I wanted to kind of how important was this event that you put on? Because I was so impressed with coming to this event. And it was part community vigil, but and there wasn't tons of media there, but there were some publications. Newshawk wrote about it, and you've got these pictures, right? So what I was just taken by was how well you choreographed this event, even aside from the cause. So you had the public officials, they were there with their children. You have the picture of Juana right here with her son, who's in the Air Force, who's deployed in the Middle East and, wasn't there, but her husband was there here. That's her husband. And then you had the pictures on the side. So how much is the visual important when it comes to an event such as this? Because you really need to educate, media who might not be following the story.
Well, we know that when you cover a press conference, and I've been on both sides of a media campaign, both covering it and now, organizing a media campaign, how important the visuals are. So they have these pictures, family pictures we asked them to bring, and they blew it up. And this was all put together in about a week. So it can be done, and it has to be done. And any kind of press conference of any kind of anything topical, you need to be able to form a rapid response. And the family member was really critical in getting these pictures together, blowing up the pictures and gathering all of their relatives. Most of the people there on the steps were all family members, her children, grandchildren. They made these posters, which this picture was on everybody's coverage. KEYT was there. Lisa, you were there with KCSB. Newshawk was there. Josh Molina was there. And not only are these pictures important and you said there wasn't a whole lot of media there, but this coverage, we've been sending all the links of this local coverage, KEYTs, KSBYs, KCSB. We've been including the links in all of our submissions to Alejandro Mayorkas, the Department of Homeland, the secretary. We send all these links to the coverage. So they are seeing these pictures back in Washington, D.C. So the coverage not only goes to Santa Barbara, but we're sending the links to the Homeland Secretary. We're sending them to Vice President Kamala Harris, who is aware of the campaign and now is our Vice President. So these pictures are going far and wide and being disseminated, and they're very, very important. The sound that you captured was very important. Some of the speeches from the grandchildren were filled with emotion. And, it's a little bit different than reading about it. When you see these faces, when you see the pictures of Juana standing next to her son who is serving our country, the country that says his mom cannot live here anymore. So those pictures are very important in any kind of a campaign. And we've formed a Facebook page if anybody would like to find out more. We would like to get a web page together, but this is just a band of family members and volunteers. So we don't really have the funds. There is one very generous supporter who has been paying some of the legal costs. My husband has been donating his time pro bono, and but there are some costs involved. So there is a way to donate. If you go to the Team Juana page on Facebook, and hopefully we'll have a website coming up soon. We can put all these pictures from the coverage on the website.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that with us.